We're underway in the Premier League for full commentary of Newcastle versus Arsenal, and Chris Waddle is with John Murray.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, welcome everyone to Tyneside. Arsenal kicking off, but Newcastle on the attack through the middle. Here's Gordon. Gordon moving in field, 25 yards out, gives it to Joe Linton. Lovely turn onto his left foot. Goes square from him to Longstaff. Now Almiron reaches Trippier on the right-hand side. Trippier's ball across, diving header away from Gabriel. What a start from Newcastle, Chris Waddle.
Great start, straight and Jorginho tried to con the referee with a dive and he didn't bite, thank God. And away Newcastle go, and they nearly scored straight away.
So it is Newcastle United against Arsenal here on what is a dry autumnal night. There is rain forecast, but there is a chill in the air, and St James's Park has just fallen silent actually before kick-off to mark Remembrance Sunday next weekend. But wreaths were laid and buglers played the last post. But the noise now, the volume has gone up for what is the 7th Premier League match of today, but the biggest of the weekend if you look at the league positions this morning. 6th against 2nd this morning, but now Arsenal have slipped down to 3rd with Manchester City going to the top of the league. But Newcastle, black and white stripes, they're attacking towards the Leeds' end in the first half, which is to our left, and goalkeeper Pope has overhit the ball downfield, so it's the goalkeeper at the other end, David Raya, who has got it. And Newcastle, same as this time last week when we brought you commentary from Molineux on the 2-2 draw. So Newcastle with Pope in goal, Trippier, Lascelles, Cher and Byrne, then Longstaff, Guimaraes and Joe Linton, as David Raya will have to clear, which he does under some pressure, and it's just kept in down in front of us, and Arsenal with the ball at the back. So the front line for Newcastle, Almiron back on the right. Saliba's got to be careful inside his own penalty area, but he manages to get away from Guimaraes and from Gordon, and it is Arsenal who bring it forward. So that Newcastle front line, Almiron on the right, Wilson through the middle and Gordon on the left. Throwing is given Newcastle's way.
It was.
And that was Mikel Arteta right in front of it, protested about it.
Gordon, good tackle on Saka, just comes off Saka. All the black and white hands go up, and they get the throw in. But I think with Newcastle, I've been here many times, Johnny, they come out the blocks very, very quick. And Arsenal are mixed at the minute. They've dropped off for 5 minutes. Now they're trying to press them high, and they just seem to don't get it right. But we know Newcastle show a lot of energy in the first half hour of the game.
That's Chris Waddle with us, 62 caps for England, World Cup man of course, watching Newcastle, one of Chris's old clubs, winning a free kick. Guimaraes was shoved over in the full-back area. The Arsenal team tonight has no Martin Odegaard. The captain is out. He's been on the bench for the last couple of games, as you may have noticed. Mikel Arteta said that he's struggling with a hip problem, and now Newcastle are taking their time over the taking of this free kick. And Eddie Nketiah actually threw the ball away, and referee Stuart Atwell's come across to speak to Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, but I've got to say, John, he threw the ball back where the free kick actually
should have taken place.
Yes, and then Cher picks it up and throws it back where he threw it away from, and he took it from there anyway.
Yeah. So the Arsenal team tonight: Raya, Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel coming back in alongside him. Tomiyasu's at left back. Zinchenko's among the substitutes. Then in midfield, in the absence of Odegaard, Jorginho the captain, Rice and Havertz, and then Saka, Nketiah and Martinelli. Still no Gabriel Jesus. He's going to be out for a little while with a hamstring problem. Arsenal in their first choice colours, the red shirts with the white sleeves, white shorts and red socks, and Declan Rice winning the ball back on the halfway line. Also going to keep you across the big match that's being played in the Bundesliga right now, which is significant because it is Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich have taken an early lead. So that's where Newcastle go on Tuesday, or at least will travel on Monday. That's their Champions League match. And similarly, Arsenal's opponents, Sevilla, are also playing right now against Celta Vigo in the Spanish league. That is currently 0-0. Just waiting to find out who scored the Bayern Munich goal, which is always of interest, as Jorginho will give the ball to Declan Rice, and Rice plays it up the left-hand side, and here's Martinelli into the action, right for the ball into the penalty area, looking for the hat-trick man of last weekend, Eddie Nketiah, but a header away by Jamal Lascelles, and Newcastle clear it up towards Callum Wilson, who does really well actually under pressure, but couldn't release the ball for Almiron as the challenge came in on him, and it's out of play for a throw-in. And the goal scorer was actually Upamecano for Bayern Munich, who has come in. There's every chance, Chris, with De Ligt out injured. Upamecano coming back in. So Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen as well if you're on the move tonight, if you're on the way back from a match via BBC Sounds, where you can listen to the live radio, and you can listen to Almiron coming forward down the right wing for Newcastle. Almiron is challenged by Tomiyasu, comes back though centrally, Longstaff's ball in, and Raya throws himself forward, the Arsenal goalkeeper all in blue, a Superman style dive, fists ahead of him, and he punched the ball away some distance.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he got it right, but you always like to see goalkeepers take crosses, don't you? Catch it. But
that would have been a spectacular catch if he caught that. Here's Joe Linton playing through the middle. The ball bounces away towards the edge of the box. Wilson gets there first though, and takes Saliba out towards this side, which is the Newcastle left. Then Gordon, blonde hair flopping, plays it centrally to Guimarães, pulls the ball down now on the right hand side. Trippier, his ball into the penalty area, slightly behind Longstaff, and Arsenal are able to get it away and actually win a free kick. Arsenal for Guimarães' challenge near the edge of the penalty area on the returning Nketiah, and it is a free kick, and that's all. And that's significant as well, because Bruno Guimarães is one yellow card away from a suspension.
Well, I've got to say there's nothing in it, John. I didn't think it was a free kick, to be perfectly honest, but you know, you go down, you get it, and he got it. So it's a little bit of a nervous start, I think, on both teams, I've got to say so far. Arsenal don't know whether to press or drop off. Caught in two minds at the minute, and Newcastle are just rushing everything, and they need to settle down.
This is the Premier League live from St James's Park. Newcastle unbeaten in their last 6 league matches against Arsenal, who of course have not lost in the league this season. The much changed teams from midweek in the League Cup, incidentally, as well. Newcastle making 8 changes back, and Arsenal making 6 changes. Arsenal knocked out at West Ham, and Newcastle, who won quite famously actually at Old Trafford. It's been a much talk about match that. More about Manchester United than Newcastle United, as Gabriel plays the ball back to Raya, who's quickly scampering outside of his penalty area, spends almost as much time outside his box as he does inside it. Here's Joe Linton, touch forward from him, and then he caught Jorginho, but Joe Linton went flying, and referee Atwell rightly doesn't give the free kick, and it's brought forward by Havertz, who gives it to Saka on the right hand side. First time we've seen Bukayo Saka left-footed ball into the edge of the penalty area. Is cleared away by Cher, and then Joe Linton and Saliba went for the same ball together, got there at the same time, both end up on the ground. Joe Linton has stayed down, and now Declan Rice carries the ball to the left hand side. Referee Atwell walks up to Joe Linton and signals to Declan Rice to put the ball out of play, so Joe Linton can.
Well, he's saying it's a head injury, as some of the Arsenal players don't think the referee should have blew. It was a strong challenge from both players, very committed.
Yeah, I think he did catch him on the side of the head.
Yeah, a little bit of brush on the side there, but hard to judge the game so far, John. Two teams have got a lot of respect for each other, you can see that. A lot at stake tonight, a lot of nerves at the minute.
Naturally talking about how important it is for Arsenal at the top of the league, but you were making the point to me, Chris, you know, in terms of where Newcastle are, wanting to be in the Champions League positions and pushing up to the top of the table.
Well, they've got to win, Newcastle, tonight in my eyes. If anybody, you know, I think Arsenal, yes, they'd like to win, but a point's a good result, and if they do win, Arsenal, that's 10 ahead of Newcastle, isn't it? And that's a lot to catch up when you're chasing down teams, and especially the quality at the top 4 or 5 at the minute. So it's a must win really for Newcastle. Yeah,
Newcastle 17 points, Arsenal currently 24. Joe Linton, I mean, it was a sort of glancing blow on the side of his head, and he's up. They're just having a look at him as he walks off the field here with that blonde rinse on top of his head. I have to say, very often we talk about players coming off after a bang on the head and looking groggy. Joe Linton looks the very opposite of that. He's chattering away. He can't wait to get back onto the field. He is one of the 3 players who started at Old Trafford and here today: Gordon, Longstaff and Joe Linton. Sean Longstaff was the captain at Old Trafford the other night for the first time. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0 is the score, with Declan Rice in possession. And of course, you know, there's frustration here because they want Joe Linton back onto the field, but the regulations now say that you have to wait 30 seconds if a player's received treatment. And still Stuart Atwell hasn't waved him back on. And White now plays it in field, and then finally he's waved on. Chris is shaking his head next to me. Martinelli, and back it comes centrally. Of course, the reason is to try and prevent players from feigning injury and having to spend time off the field. More shaking of head. Here's White to Saka. Saka infield, it's angled forward, lovely ball. Havertz plays it behind Nketiah, and therefore Longstaff's able to take possession and was fouled incidentally by Nketiah, and then no advantage develops, so it's brought back for a free kick. And then Callum Wilson's upset with Saliba, and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving between those two, but it's a free kick to Newcastle.
Yeah, it's a little bit scrappy at the minute, isn't it? There's a lot of challenges, a lot of loose passes, a lot of players not willing to take any risk at the minute. They're all trying to play very simple, but it's a high tempo game, so there's not a lot of time at the minute, and we're waiting for a little bit of quality.
The TV cameras, by the way, found Sandro Tonali, who is here inside the stadium, currently banned for his breaches of the betting rules in Italy. There's been a lot of talk about that. Dan Ashworth came and spoke to the media yesterday, and also quite a bit of talk about how there might be the possibility of Ruben Neves being brought back on loan from Saudi Arabia in January. So that's very much one to watch when it comes to the January window. I think plenty of people will have plenty to say about that, as Byrne plays the ball forward, but it drifts out of play, and it's a throw-in to Arsenal halfway inside their own half. It's an interesting one, isn't it, for Tonali, who of course is serving this ban. And it's an addiction, that's what's being said. He's able to train with Newcastle United, so that is, I suppose, is one thing, but they're obviously not able to play a part on the field. And Harry Kane has scored for Bayern Munich, who are winning 2-0 in the Westfalenstadion against Borussia Dortmund after 12 minutes. And after they were knocked out of the cup in midweek, Bayern Munich, Kane didn't get onto the field. That's a proper response from Thomas Tuchel's side. And Harry Kane now, that is 15 goals in what is 14 appearances.
I don't know why anybody questions. Wherever he plays, he scores, doesn't he? Let's be honest.
Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, as well as Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. Hibs against Aberdeen is underway, the first of the League Cup semi-finals in Scotland, and Gavin Wallace is at Hampton.
Still 0-0 at the moment, John. Hibs 0, Aberdeen 0. Hibs had the best chance so far. It was a lovely ball from Dylan Levitt over to Jordan Obita, and his cutback was dangerous into the corridor of doubt, but it was put out for a corner. Hibs very much in the ascendancy. Hibs 0, Aberdeen 0.
Bromley against Blackpool will be getting underway in the FA Cup very shortly as well. That is actually on BBC 2 tonight, and the Copa Libertadores final is on BBC 3 tonight if you're at a loose end. Boca Juniors against Fluminense, and the choice of listening on Sports Extra, currently the Brazilian Grand Prix sprint race. That is on Sports Extra right now on your digital radio or via BBC Sounds. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. Arsenal with the ball inside their own half on this clear night. Floodlights brightly shining down on Jorginho. And Tomiyasu, who stepped into the midfield position from his left-back role. Arsenal still with it.
Is there a little bit of Man City in that, do you think?
A little bit, yeah. I think that would be fair to say. Zinchenko does it, of course, doesn't he, when he plays for Arsenal? Here's Longstaff sliding into the challenge. It bounces for Havertz. And now here is Nketiah on the right-hand side. It's his 100th Premier League appearance, Eddie Nketiah, today. Nketiah playing the ball back towards Jorginho, number 20 on his back. Then infield, and there is Tomiyasu, very much in a midfield role. Now Ben White, whose blonde hair has strangely disappeared since Wednesday night. And it bounces back towards the edge of the penalty area for Newcastle. Guimaraes tries to win the free kick, and then Tomiyasu hits a shot, which is deflected because Dan Byrne dived in there, and it took a touch off Byrne, and it's a corner. Ball landed up halfway up the Gallagate end.
It's been a good bit of spell here for Arsenal the last 2-3 minutes, keeping possession very, very well, trying to work their way up the field. They've got a corner out of it.
Yep, Bukayo Saka to take it. Bukayo Saka making his way down into that corner of the St James's Park. One of Arsenal's joint top scorers this season, Saka, with 5 goals, although he's not scored in his last 5 appearances. Left-footed delivery it'll be from Bukayo Saka. Most of the Arsenal players group beyond the far post. In fact, it goes short to Declan Rice. And Declan Rice took a little while to get it under control. Square from Jorginho. Martinelli with the shot. That's blocked inside the penalty area, the crowded penalty area. And then Anthony Gordon wins the throw in. And just as we're sitting here, I'm just feeling a cold wind blowing around us. I wonder if that's going to be the sign of impending rain.
Well, I'm going yes.
Yes, I think I have to agree with you. Joe Linton, heading the ball on, but it's dry at the moment. And Ben White, I actually think he's now, has he dyed his hair? Honestly, I'm losing. He was brilliantly blonde on Wednesday night. Now he's got what is almost black hair.
His middle name's Vidal, isn't it?
Well, here's Anthony Gordon. There's a little bit of work going on there as well, I think. And it's cleared into the stand by the black-haired Ben White for a throw-in to Joe Linton. Joe Linton now back into the centre circle. Forward from Lascelles, but that's onto the head of Saliba, who's able to head it away. Jorginho. Then Ben White plays it back to David Raya, who's right on the balls of his feet, turns the ball out towards Gabriel, who's put under pressure there. The pass was slightly behind Gabriel, but Almiron's all over him. I mean, he's like a Yorkshire Terrier, Almiron, when he's in there. He's all over Gabriel. I mean, he's so enthusiastic. And as he turns away, even through the far side of the pitch, I can see his teeth glinting in the floodlights with a big smile on his face.
I've got to say, Arsenal, I think they're running the game, the tempo of the game. In fact, they're keeping the ball and moving it. Newcastle, if they want to get something happening here for the next 5-10 minutes, they're going to have to up the tempo, press Arsenal a lot higher, like you normally see Newcastle doing. At the minute, I think they're showing Arsenal a little bit too much respect. And
now the crowd in that corner are getting onto Arsenal and the referee, because this free kick's not been taken yet. David Raya's moved the position of it, and Raya will now strike it downfield over the halfway line. Don't know if they'll have Yorkshire Terriers in Paraguay, will they? They probably will, won't they? There's no reason to.
They're everywhere.
There we are then. Chris Waddle, all knowing, even on Yorkshire Terriers.
Yeah, favourite subject.
Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. Celebrity mastermind coming up, Chris. Ball's played back towards the edge of the area, and Raya had to stretch for that. Passes the ball out from the back, and then White forward to Havertz, who's playing as a sort of right-sided central midfielder, and then Rice stepping in, but he couldn't get there. Trippier, his England colleague, got to it first. Stabbed forward by Almiron. Now to the right-hand side to Trippier, and Trippier will go in field. And Bruno Guimaraes has a little bit of space there. There's not a great deal of space, but couldn't find the crossfield pass to Gordon. So Arsenal break forward. Arsenal, who did win here last season by 2-0. Odegaard scored one of those goals. The other was an own goal by this man, Ben White. And White, I'm not sure he kept that in. The Newcastle fans think it went over the white line. He was being put under pressure by Gordon, but the assistant was right there and said that it did not go out of play. Here's White again on the right flank. Saka in, nice touch from Havertz, didn't run into the path of Saka though, and Newcastle are able to play it away. It's been good from Arsenal so far. There's been some intricate play with Joe Linton now for Newcastle going for a longer pass, but that was intercepted by Tomiyasu on the halfway line. And there's the Newcastle man down. Trippier stayed down, and it's been won back by Arsenal, and Nketiah in the full-back position, but there's cover there with Longstaff. And it's won back by Bruno Guimaraes, leaving Nketiah on the ground. And Bruno Guimaraes now down the right flank for Almiron. Almiron's onto this, near the right corner of the box. Left-footed ball right across the penalty area. Wilson's there, tried to give it back to Almiron, but Almiron coming in at such pace. He didn't have a chance to control that. And it's bounced for Rice, and what a run from Rice from deep inside his own half to the edge of the area, but he played it behind Nketiah. And then Saka, just outside the box, receives it, went infield, hit the shot. That was blocked inside the penalty area. Rice now works it to Martinelli, left side of the penalty area. He curls it across, and Nketiah leaping for it, might come to Saka. Saka trying to drag it back onto his left foot as Gordon arrived to deflect it behind for a corner.
Well, I've got to say, Arsenal are a little bit in control of this match. Newcastle, at times, the crowd's trying to get behind them, but they're playing too quick, Newcastle. They're rushing everything. They've got to slow themselves down when they get possession and show a bit of composure.
What a run from Declan Rice that was.
Yeah, brilliant. We should shoot though. We never shoot.
He was in position there to do it, but passed it behind Nketiah. I mean, 1 minute he was halfway inside his own half. The next second, it seemed, he was on the edge of the Newcastle box. So it's another Arsenal corner. They took the previous one short. Saka plays this into the near post, comes off a Newcastle head, and Nketiah grappling for it, bounces towards Martinelli at the back post, then a shot on the edge of the box from Jorginho is blocked, and the ball bounces out towards the left side, comes back in field towards Declan Rice. First time pass from him. Declan Rice, having gone back to West Ham and being booed when he came on as a substitute in the Carabao Cup defeat. On Wednesday night, Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. As Arsenal have it again, a shot from distance is deflected, and that took it well wide. It was Saliba who went for goal, hit a Newcastle man, deflected well wide of goal, but it's another corner.
Well, I'm sure Arteta's delighted the way his team have took control of this football match, but in the final third, they've got to have a little bit more composure, and they've got to shoot. They're making wrong decisions. It's simple as that in the final third at the minute, but they are totally control of this football match.
So it is a corner again. The third of 3 that they've had from the right. Again, it's Saka who steps back 2-3 yards, raises his right arm, and then Saka curls the ball into the 6-yard box. Goalkeeper Pope with a punch, comes out to Jorginho, who's right underneath the shot. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there. Cushioned it, and it landed quarter of the way up the Gallagher.
Sorry, but you've got to put your foot through. He's got good technique, Jorginho, hasn't he? Let's be honest. He did know. He's tried to place it with the side of his foot, and then where he got caught in 2 mains, I'm not sure, but I'm not talking about the effort.
No, he's one of the players who's actually not yet taken a penalty for Arsenal this season, with all of their various penalty takers that they've had. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, and Pope strikes this goal kick down the middle. Callum Wilson in such good goal scoring form. Wilson 3 goals in his last 2 Premier League appearances. Isak's going to be out until after the next set of internationals. As Arsenal come forward again promising. Rice down the left, crossing into the penalty area. It was blocked behind by Lascelles for another corner. Celta Vigo have taken the lead against Sevilla in the Spanish league, and it is Bromley 0, Blackpool 1 in the later kick-off in the FA Cup first round. So Blackpool leading against the National League side, who are going so well under Andy Woodman, as you may have heard, Gareth Southgate's great friend. Corner then for Arsenal, this one from the left-hand side, the first they've had from there. Martinelli takes it, gets it back from Rice. Martinelli curls it towards the back post, and Nketiah on the stretch, but in doing so could only head it wide of the far post, and maybe Gabriel behind him was a better option, but Nketiah heads wide, goal kick Newcastle.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of communication between the two, John, but Arsenal really are playing well. The tempo's good about them. Newcastle can't put 3 passes together at the minute. They're really flat, and Arsenal in the final third are not showing enough quality, and that's why they're not winning this football match.
Already halfway through the first half here on Tyneside. 0-0. We'll have more interviews and reaction to the day's sport at half-time. Manchester City now top of the Premier League after their 6-1 win against Bournemouth. So that's boosted their goal difference as well. Manchester City now plus 20 with 27 points. And Manchester United, if you haven't heard, won with a late goal at Fulham in the first Premier League match of the day. But we'll round everything up for you at the break. Still Hibs 0, Aberdeen 0 in the semi-final at Hampden. Dan Burn waiting to take this, and the referee Stuart Atwell's telling him to go back 4 or 5 yards to take the throw, which he does. Guimaraes under pressure from Havertz, who's gone down, caught by a flailing hand, and he's gone down feeling the side of his head. Newcastle continue, play hasn't been stopped. Mikel Arteta is asking why. Now Almiron away from Tomiyasu on the right hand side. Almiron back onto his left foot, little ball into the penalty area. No, it's actually been blocked by Declan Rice, who's shown too much of that to Almiron, who dived in to try and win it back, and it was there to be won, but he caught Rice, and it's a free kick. And now Mikel Arteta again is actually being spoken to by Jason Tindall. So Jason Tindall and Mikel Arteta are exchanging words, and fourth official Graham Scott is standing between them.
Well, I thought, John, and I didn't see any contact at all. Havertz goes down, and play on's the right thing. And so, it's strange, isn't it? They get this slap in the head, and when they don't get the free kick within seconds, they're up running behind them again. So good refereeing that.
Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. So free kick for what was the Almiron foul on Rice, who struck long downfield, and actually in the end Trippier gets the ball and plays it back to Nick Pope, who's cleared it out of play on the halfway line. Groans from the home supporters. Many of these Newcastle fans, they say thousands and thousands, are heading to Germany next week. We'll be going with them. Neil Lennon's coming with us to Dortmund for the what is a 5:45 kickoff on Saturday. So you'll hear that on 5 Live, an early finish to Drive, so don't miss it. As Almiron bringing it forward, gives it into the penalty area to Wilson. Wilson then fouls Gabriel, who went to ground and is now being helped to his feet, and it's actually a goal kick to Arsenal, that's all.
Yeah, I've got to say, good defending. Callum Wilson's not looked very sharp tonight, has he? Gabriel deserves so well. He just checks his run, knows what he's doing, lets the ball out of play. It's Arsenal for me have been the plus, but final third, both teams are struggling. But at general play, Arsenal are the better team.
Yep, Callum Wilson, who's scored 18 goals since the beginning of April. So in the latter part of last season, when he scored those 11 goals, and 7 this season. Here is Wilson through the middle, but challenged by Jorginho, and then it bounces back for Gabriel on the edge of the area. Back to David Raya, right-footed ball to the halfway line. Nice touch from Nketiah to bring it to Havertz. Now Saka comes in field, rolls it square. Rice again, very advanced in that left-sided central midfield role with Jorginho in the middle. Back to Rice again. Now Martinelli trying to curl it in, which he does nicely. Saka with a touch, back to Jorginho, he lifts it forward into the box, a stretch for it by Tomiyasu, but he can't reach that. Defender Trippier was there with him as well, and it's through for a goal kick.
Well, Arsenal up to the 18-yard line are good. They're hustling Newcastle, they're getting the ball off them very easily, they're moving the ball very well. I like Declan Rice playing further forward.
Yep.
You know, I always said, I don't know why, you know, at West Ham that was his role. He sat there. He should be scoring 10-15 goals a season. He's got the energy, he's got the technique. I don't know why I like this role he's playing in tonight, I've got to say, but until they get the final third, Arsenal, then they run out of ideas.
He's actually playing in a Jude Bellingham role,
I
position.
like him. He's good, he can go past players, he's got good technique, we know that.
Not only that, Chris, also Kai Havertz, that means he's playing in a sort of right-sided central position as Wilson wins a free kick, or at least was challenged, but then there's a Newcastle man, Byrne, who's gone down on the halfway line as well, and he looks as though he's been winded, so whether he's fallen awkwardly, but I think the free kick was actually given for the challenge on Byrne, who came in, and I think he's landed on the sort of small of his back, but no, the free kick was given for the foul on Wilson further forward, so this is halfway inside the Arsenal half. But yes, Kai Havertz in this position, right of centre, with Saka to play with, you know, this is as promising as I've seen him in an Arsenal shirt early days in this match.
Yeah,
so
he costs a lot of money and takes time to settle.
He did. £65 million Arsenal paid for him from Chelsea, of course. Champions League winning goal scorer for Chelsea. So it's a free kick for Newcastle. Burns okay. Gordon and Trippier are over the ball. It's 0-0. This breeze just getting up in strength. And now it's touched by Gordon. Trippier gives it back to Gordon on the left-hand side. Arsenal have got everyone back. Gordon has to go to the edge of the box. Bruno Guimaraes then lifts it in towards the back post. Byrne heads it down. Wilson!
Got to be offside. Got to be offside.
Flags up, Chris.
Dan Byrne's got to be offside.
Yeah.
He's got round the back of everybody. A diagonal ball comes in. Dan Byrne's got to be offside, and it's a good chance for Wilson.
And we'll just have a chance to see it. Oh no, yep, absolutely spot on, Chris. As the ball came over. With regular listeners to our commentaries to St James's Park, they'll often hear us talk about the tiny televisions. Well, actually, we've got bigger televisions today because Norwegian TV are in front of us, and they've got bigger ones than we normally get. Don't know how that's happened. Havertz heading the ball out towards the right-hand side. Now Byrne rifles a pass forward, and that'll just bounce away through for a goal kick. At half-time, by the way, I said we'll hear more from some of the people involved in the earlier matches. We will hear from Erik ten Hag, the Manchester United manager. We'll hear from Pep Guardiola after their 6-1 win, and also Paul Heckingbottom after Sheffield United's dramatic win, their first Premier League win of the season. Arsenal taking this goal kick out from the back. Raya playing it to the right-hand side. Now White up to Saka, who is fouled by Byrne, who I think is he's certainly still indicating that he's feeling where he landed on at the base of his spine.
Yeah, I've been watching him, John, and he's not comfortable. There's something at the back behind his hip, and he keeps rubbing it. He's not happy with it.
Well, what Newcastle do not need are any more injuries, particularly with Dortmund coming up next week. Such an important game. Probably need something from that. You'll hear that on 5 Live. We'll be in the stadium in Germany, Borussia Dortmund, Newcastle. After that, we'll be in Madrid. Ian Dennis is going there with Pat Nevin. Atletico Madrid against Celtic. We'll have Manchester City against Young Boys covered. And then on Wednesday night, more Champions League commentary with Arsenal at home to Sevilla. You'll hear that in full, and we'll be with Manchester United in Copenhagen. Here's Tomiyasu. Now the ball on the left-hand side. Martinelli coming in field towards Jorginho, who turns and gives it to Gabriel. Now it finds its way to White again, and then White with a touch to Saka.
He's going to get a card, Dan Burn. That's 3 on Saka.
Tripped by Dan Burn. I think that's going to be enough for a yellow?
No. I think next one definite. I think that's 3 now. I don't know how many cards you got to before you get a yellow, but
he's struggling. Dan Burn is struggling. It looks like his left hip.
Yeah.
And
he had to fall a long way, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. And if you're playing against Saka, you've got to be absolutely tip-top, haven't you? So this could be an opportunity for, obviously, Lewis Hall's on the bench. Has he been sent to warm up? Anyway, it's a free kick to Arsenal from the right-hand side. Martinelli is going to take this. Saka runs over it. Right-footed curler from Martinelli. That's headed away by Joe Linton across the penalty area, actually. Lands on the back of Tomiyasu, who will celebrate his birthday tomorrow, the Japanese. 25 tomorrow on Bonfire Night. Ball to the right-hand side. Martinelli bounces away. Gordon being leaned into by Havertz, and the ball runs out of play. I suspect they don't talk about Bonfire Night in Japan. As Dan Burn takes the throw, Joe Linton under pressure plays it square, and now Longstaff rolls it into the path of Trippier. Trippier already halfway inside the Arsenal half. Longstaff makes a run, but Trippier actually goes outside with the pass to Almiron, and then Trippier chips it into the penalty area, but Nketiah is all the way back there inside his own penalty area to head it away, out for a throw. Still 0-0 if you've just joined us on 5 Live. 6:06 will follow tonight with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. We'll hear from them at half-time as well. I'll let you know in the second half when the lines are open for the 6:06 phone-in. Joe Linton back to the halfway line to Cher, who was ill in midweek but is well again now. As Nketiah shouts for handball against Nketiah as he came in and controlled the ball with his body.
The problem Arsenal I think they've played all right. Arsenal, don't get us wrong, but Nketiah keeps coming back into midfield and behind the midfield and beyond the wings. So when Arsenal do pick the ball up sometimes, there's nobody up front.
Long pass forward from Cher, but Ben White does well, puts himself into position. But then Wilson wins it back from him. Wilson turning away from White, and he's done well there, Callum Wilson. Then Gordon turns against Jorginho, allows the ball to run, and it rolls down into the Arsenal right full-back position. Gordon back up the line to Burn, who's still holding his hip.
He said no, wants to come off.
He's going to have to come off.
Yes,
yep.
Put his hand up.
And that means he's got to be a doubt for Dortmund. Ball to the right-hand side. Trippier rolls it down into the full-back position. Almiron's after this. Bruno Guimaraes comes across, back to Almiron with a touch. Flicked forward by Bruno Guimaraes, half cleared by Arsenal, comes out to Joe Linton, now to Trippier again, controls the ball, plays it through into the box, but Declan Rice comes across and just chips it away, and it runs out of play for a throw-in next to the corner flag. So it's a throw-in to Newcastle, right over there in that far corner. They take it back towards the halfway line, all the way to Fabian Cher now. And Cher's going to have one of those wonders forward that we see from him from time to time. He's continued his run, but the ball is now with Gordon. Then Bruno Guimaraes finds Cher, left corner of the box. He's gone for goal with a shot, but it hit Saka, who was just a few yards away, and bounced out for a throw-in on the left-hand side. We'll have a stoppage because Declan Rice actually is tying his bootlaces on the edge of the penalty area. So while he does that, half-time at Hampden, Gavin Wallace.
Yeah, John, Hibernian nil, Aberdeen nil. Quality somewhat lacking. Aberdeen not offering much, to be honest. Hibs had the best chance. It came at 18. Dylan Levitt's ball out wide to Jordan Abita, and his cross was defended well. That's the best that this semi-final could conjure up. Hibernian nil, Aberdeen nil.
Still 0-0 here at St James's Park as well, and Declan Rice is still doing up his bootlaces.
He didn't do a double bow, did he?
No, and I think he's got it right now. You can hear the reaction from the Newcastle supporters. Both Hall and Livramento are warming up, incidentally, who did so well at Old Trafford. It's a really fine goal, wasn't it, by Lewis Hall? His first senior competitive goal. Took it really well at Old Trafford. Well, he might be on into the action before half-time. 10 minutes to go, and Newcastle with it on the right. Declan Rice has got his boots tied up, and Newcastle with it with Lascelles and Cher inside their own half. Cher passes it out here to Joe Linton, and it comes off Joe Linton, and it's a throw-in to Arsenal. It's a little unfortunate there. Saka then lifts it infield. Havertz wins a header. Saka, well, he had to get there. Cher against Saka, he did, and then Longstaff is slid into by Havertz, and this is right in front of the supporters, right in front of the Jackie Milburn stand here, and a number of players are involved in this, and there's a lot of shoving, pushing and shoving. I mean, Havertz went in at pace and caught Longstaff, and the crowd have reacted. To yellow card has been produced by Stuart Atwell for Kai Havertz, but clearly VAR will have a look at that.
I don't know if he caught him, John, actually. I know it was late and it was high, but I don't know if he's actually caught him.
I think a yellow card for Trippier as well, for Gordon as well in there.
Yeah, well, he did react.
Longstaff stayed down.
Gordon did react. Yeah,
Gordon reacted against Havertz.
Here we go, we're getting a review of it. As he clears the ball, he's caught his trailing foot, and he's made a genuine attempt to block the ball. He's a little bit late. His trailing left foot just catches. It is definitely yellow. I'm not sure it's a red, John. It's definitely yellow.
The leading, as he dived in at pace.
It's a trailing foot, isn't it? It caught him.
Yeah, it was the leading foot that was high, which I think he just got down in time. It's the sort of, it's the reckless nature of it. That's what they'll be talking about. The video assistant referee.
Yeah, I can see that, but it's a trailing foot what just caught him slightly. I mean, he's up, he's walking, he's all right. I think the referee's got it right. I'd be very surprised if they turn it around.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's happened right in front of the supporters, because the tackle took him off the pitch, took Havertz off the pitch. And I think as well, Longstaff knew that it was being mistimed, knew it was a mistimed challenge, and I think he had enough time just to react, so he wasn't caught. I think he managed to lift his feet off the ground, so it was a glancing contact, and he's yellow carded as well, Longstaff. Well, why is that? And also another one, Cher's also been yellow carded. Goodness me.
How many is that? 3 of them?
I think that's 3 for one incident. Longstaff, Cher and Gordon. Well, I can only assume it's something that's dissent. It has to be dissent.
Yeah, and listen, we got the benefit of a replay, a slow motion and everything, so I think you got it right. I mean, the VAR will be talking to him in the ear, I'm sure, but I think you got it right. Yellow card, definitely. Longstaff's
received treatment, so he's going to have another 30 seconds off the pitch. And Newcastle have got this free kick to take. 38 minutes played, BBC Radio 5 Live, and more to come at half-time on all of the earlier events in the various sporting fields. But this has whipped up the crowd here at St James's Park, which can have a positive effect on the home team, as we well know. And now Almiron receives it. Play back underway with his head down. Almiron into the penalty area on the right-hand side, chips it right across the 6-yard box, and it just lands out of play for a goal kick.
Well, obviously the fans are not happy here at Newcastle about the decisions have been made, but you've got to get on with it. And I've got to say, Newcastle found it difficult this first half to put passes together to create chances, and I'd say Arsenal have just shaded it.
And now Longstaff is allowed back onto the field. Eddie Howe is now making his point very forcefully to Graham Scott. Jason Tindall, I wondered how long that would take. Jason Tindall also comes and joins in that conversation. Eddie Howe walks away, so it's now Jason Tindall with Graham Scott. And now another free kick for Newcastle. Bruno Guimaraes is also caught a glancing blow by Declan Rice. who's saying that he got the ball, and Jamal Lascelles is actually pushing away some of the Newcastle players to make sure that they don't get any more.
There's nothing in it, John. Listen, we're getting the benefit of replay. Look, he's played the ball with his toe, Declan Rice. I know why Gumrez is rolling around on the ground. Don't get it at all. Sorry.
Bruno Guimaraes is up. 5 minutes of the first half to go. No goals. And actually, you know, Chris, very few chances.
Nothing.
I'm not sure the goalkeeper has made a save.
Not a thing.
So it's tight. Cher, one ball forward, glanced on. That's headed away by Gabriel. Back into the area. Almiron, who scored the opening goal at Old Trafford the other evening. Now Trippier with a cross, headed across the face of goal and then stabbed goalwards. But Anthony Gordon kind of couldn't get his feet right for that, and in the end it was only half a shot goalwards and Raya was able to collect.
Almiron, great little play. Trippier, a lovely ball, stands up the far post. They all miss it. Gordon doesn't expect the ball to fall to his feet. It does. It's a bad first touch. Goalkeeper picks it up.
Yep. Havertz controls in the centre circle. Boos for Kai Havertz after his involvement in that the incident that led to the 3 Newcastle yellow cards. So 4 in all, 1 for Havertz as well. Rice plays it to the right hand side to Saka. Saka now, Newcastle have got 2 men on him. White turns it back centrally, 25 yards out. Jorginho pulls the ball to his left to Gabriel, and then Tomiyasu drops back into position. Out to the left it goes to Martinelli, ball on the ground. Tomiyasu also turns full 360 degrees. Tomiyasu coming in for Zinchenko, who's among the Arsenal substitutes for today. Jacob Murphy, by the way, is on the bench for Newcastle. Looked as though that shoulder injury that he suffered against Dortmund was really quite serious. But 2 matches out and he's back on the bench. Here's Saka, now square from Havertz. Jorginho lifts it into the penalty area, but it just bounces through to Paul, who can take that quite comfortably.
Well, we've played 42 minutes, John, and I've got to say I'm waiting for that bit of quality in the final third from both teams. Some of the approach plays be nice on the eye, but both teams look, you know, showing each other a lot of respect, and you know, who's going to be the bravest to actually make something happen here, because at the minute they get up to the 18-yard line and they run out of ideas.
Yep, they do. But it's they're well matched. Here's Wilson now, black and white stripes pouring forward, red and white dropping back, and then there was no run forward for Trippier's pass to Almiron, who was expecting it to come to his feet, but Trippier played it forward beyond him and actually drops down onto his knees in frustration.
Jorginho down in the box,
and Jorginho sat down next to the penalty spot. Not sure what he's done, but this would be a problem for Arsenal with no Odegaard.
Well,
so Vieira could come on, so Rice could drop back into the central position, although he's up on his feet. So he looks okay, he's fine running to the halfway line. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, and Raya with the goal kick, which he takes now. Still no rain, it's held off so far.
You shouldn't have said that.
Havertz now gets the ball down towards the edge of the penalty area, into the box to Nketiah. Lascelles comes in, but it was shoulder to shoulder. Nketiah went down, and then it was chipped away out of play via a deflection for a throw-in to Newcastle. Nketiah went down very easily, but Lascelles challenging, shoulder to shoulder inside the box.
There's nothing in that at all.
Leaned into him, Nketiah went down, but he had every right there to challenge for it in that way. Throw into Newcastle. Byrne, who seems to have recovered for the time being. I suppose the issue of, I'm just watching him now, Byrne is definitely hobbling now as he runs away. We might not see him come out for the start of the second half. Bruno Guimaraes has warned that Nketiah is coming, and then finds the pass through the middle to Joe Linton. Right foot shot hits Gabriel, bounces across the edge of the box to Gordon. Now back to Bruno Guimaraes. Low shot from him, but dragged 3 feet wide of the left post as he looked at it, because Declan Rice came across.
Got to say, Arteta's gone mad on this touchline with Saka and Ben White about closing the ball down a lot quicker. He's kicking every ball.
That's what he does. Goal kick to Mikel Arteta's team. Graham Scott just reminds him that he's outside of the coaching area. Mikel Arteta This is his 197th match as the Arsenal manager in all competitions. It's his first senior managerial job, don't forget. Challenging for the title again. Here is Saliba, Ben White, and then Longstaff in on the challenge. Jorginho goes down.
Oh, hey, is this a pantomime season, isn't it?
Nearly. Here is Tomiyasu, 4 minutes of added time. Tomiyasu gets away from Almiron, now to the corner of the box, but his cross is blocked by Trippier, and it bounces away out towards the far side, and Newcastle actually win the ball back. And Jorginho has recovered from that blow that he took.
I'm going to say, the magic sponge, they haven't even put it on. It is magic, isn't it? Yeah. Do it from the dugout now.
Jorginho, who's been down now twice in a short space of time. In the FA Cup, Bromley 0, Blackpool 2 is the score with half an hour played. So Blackpool 2-0 up at Bromley. Mansfield Wrexham tonight, by the way, is on Sports Extra. That is a simulcast with Radio Nottingham. 7:45 kickoff. Wrexham in the spotlight again.
It should be a good game, that.
Yeah. Mansfield, second big game of the week for them. As the ball is played back towards the edge of the penalty area. The cup match for Mansfield as Newcastle try to work it forward. Still 0-0 and still a match where, well, David Raya kind of had to make a save, didn't he, from Gordon there a few moments ago, but it was a routine save. Share now through the middle. Longstaff with the pass, but that was slightly behind Callum Wilson, and that meant that Saliba was able to step forward, and Saliba now passes it to Rice, and Rice receives it and is just trotting forward with the ball at his feet, upright as ever. Declan Rice. Len to the left hand side to Martinelli into the box against Trippier. He's going to be onto his right foot, chance to shoot, which he does, but it is just above the head of Pope, who's able to pat it down, both hands, fingers upright, and gather it. But that was an opening for Martinelli.
Yeah, Martinelli, it's the first we've saw him in the game, really. I know he's had a few touches, but actually committed. Trippier thinks he's going to shoot, he doesn't, he carries on. Trippier falls to the floor, and at the end of the day, it's a poor effort, isn't it? Straight at Pope.
As Dan Burn and White challenge one another, and the ball's out of play for a throw into Arsenal.
Dan Burn's talking Eddie Howe a lot there, saying he's not right, his back's not right.
Yeah. So it's a throw in for Arsenal, and Burn is not comfortable. White to take this. The referee says, come on, let's get on with it. And they're definitely testing Stuart Atwell's patience with restarts. And we know what the guidelines are this season. Saka taking it down the right, and then Gordon puts it out of play. Throw in for Newcastle. Took the final touch off Saka. Saka disagreed with that. Then Bruno Guimaraes is fouled, and it's a free kick to Newcastle. Absolutely littered with fouls.
Oh, they're not fouls though.
And then Guimaraes has played the ball straight into Havertz, who was standing in the way of the ball, and he's effectively tried to get a second yellow card for Havertz there, Guimaraes, and the referee's got himself out of this by saying that he took it while the ball was still moving. So the Newcastle free kick will be taken again.
That's a bit naughty, you shouldn't be doing that, I'm sorry. But, you know, modern game, but listen, it's been stop and start. The amount of people who hit the floor, Joe, they're not fouls. I feel sorry for the referee. Once the crowd go up, the field have got to give it, and Havertz is lucky, by the way. I just saw a replay. He did run towards the ball to block it. He is lucky, but it's been a scrappy first half, hasn't it? Let's be honest. Too many soft fouls. They're not even fouls half them.
No. And the referee, I think he was right. The ball was moving when Bruno Guimaraes took it. So we're in the last minute of the first half. Last minute of added time. Joe Linton infield to Gordon. Gordon then out to Almiron. Pass didn't quite have the pace, but Almiron's done well. Trippier on the overlap. His cross is headed away by Saliba on the edge of the 6-yard box for Arsenal, and it comes out from Martinelli, who's surrounded by black and white over there, and they've managed between them to play the ball out for a throw-in, which was taken quickly by Newcastle, almost while those 2 or 3 players over on the far side weren't looking. So the ball is back in play. We've had the 4 minutes of time at the end of the first half. It's still 0-0. Gordon goes down so easily, and that referee says that'll do. I mean, that's been a really tough half to referee for Stuart Atwell, and great pace, lots of niggly little fouls, Dan Burns walking off, shaking his head, so I'll be very surprised if we see him come out for the second half. Chris Waddle.
A lot of desire, a lot of passion, lacking in quality of the game, let's be honest. We're not seeing anybody how we expect to do things with the football and create chances and take chances. We're not seeing any of that. Two well-matched teams who've got a lot of respect for each other. We're waiting for that little bit of quality, especially in the final third. So
here at St James's Park at half-time, Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 0, and here's Steve Crossman.
Thank you very much, guys. It has been a little bit tempestuous, but not loads of chances so far at St James's Park. So 0-0, and of course we'll bring you second half commentary before 6:06. The lines are open, 08085 909 693 to speak to Natalie Pike and Robbie Savage. 6:06, of course, with you the other side of full time at St James's Park. We've got some reaction on the way to the big football stories of the day. Away from the league stuff, in the FA Cup, Aldershot Town of the National League hit 7 at League 2 Swindon, who at 7-0 down then scored 4 in reply, but that was way too little, way too late. 7-4 that finished. Ramsgate from the Isthmian League South East Division were the lowest ranked team playing today. They are also through to round 2. Lee Martin scoring the winner for them. A man once signed for £1 million by Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. Another Manchester United connection. Their former midfielder Jonathan Greening nearly took the National League North side Scarborough into round 2, but they'll have to go again in a replay with Forest Green Rovers, who scored a 93rd minute equaliser. And just down the coast, Whitby Town, their fans made a 10-hour round trip today, but they lost by 7-2 in their game at Bristol Rovers. Loads more FA Cup to come tomorrow. What about the semi-final at Hampden of the first Scottish League Cup? Hibs against Aberdeen. Gavin Wallace.
To be honest, Steve, it doesn't really matter who you say is who, because this game is not good at all. We've just kicked off to the second half. Hibs 0, Aberdeen 0. Hibs really on the front foot, just as Martin Boyle takes it down inside the box. Oh, it's a goal to Hibernian. Martin Boyle took it down expertly with his right foot, just on the edge of the 18-yard box. Kelleroos came out and Martin Boyle slotted beyond. Oh, we needed that goal, Steve. It's Hibs 1, Aberdeen 0. Thank goodness.
I should talk more nonsense more often.
Please.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Other football story, Chelsea are top of the WSL after a 6-0 win at Aston Villa. Big news after the match, Chelsea manager Emma Hayes. It's been announced by the club that she is going to leave them at the end of the season. She's been heavily linked with the USA women's national team job. England have officially been knocked out of the Cricket World Cup after a 5th defeat in a row. Beaten by 33 runs by Australia. They were bowled out for 253, chasing 287 to win. In rugby league, England's men completed a 3-0 series whitewash of Tonga with a 26-4 victory at Headingley. England's women's side got 11 tries. They were 66-0 winners over Wales. Gentleman's Chase was a surprise winner in the big race of the day. That was the Charlie Hall Chase at Wetherby. On 5 Sports Extra, shortly, live F1 underway in 7 minutes' time. British driver Lando Norris of McLaren starts on pole for the sprint race in Sao Paulo. Much more football reaction on the way, and then the second half from St James's Park after the news with Dan Maudsley.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good evening. The Israeli military says it's investigating after a UN-run school was hit by an explosion in northern Gaza. The UN Palestinian Refugee Agency says thousands were sheltering there and up to 20 people are reported to have died. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has held talks with leaders from several Arab nations in Jordan. He reaffirmed America's support for what he called humanitarian pauses in the fighting in Gaza, while Jordan and Egypt called for an immediate ceasefire. Tens of thousands of protesters have joined pro-Palestinian rallies in towns and cities across the UK. Videos on social media show demonstrators in London, Sheffield, Manchester and Glasgow waving Palestinian flags and calling for a ceasefire now. And homeless charities have condemned the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, after she called people living in tents on the street a nuisance. She said for many it was a lifestyle choice.
BBC Sounds. It's 2003 in Birmingham.
Doors are being slammed in your face, you're not welcome here.
They were capable of murder.
Drive-by killings, gang wars, a vigilante group that fought against Jamaica's notorious Yardies.
The homeboys thought, we're not going to take this anymore, we're going to be even more violent than you.
Before turning on each other. I'm Livy Haydock and this is Gangster, the story of the Burger Bar Boys. Listen first on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Steve Crossman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
08085 909 693. The lines are open right now for 606 with Natalie Pike and Robbie Savage. Here's some reaction to the big stories in the Premier League today. Oliver Norwood's penalty gave Sheffield United their first league win of the season. They beat Wolves. Cameron Archer opened the scoring. Bellegarde scored an 89th minute equaliser, but Norwood then slotted home the winner in injury time. Here's his manager Paul Heckingbottom.
We've had some unkind moments. We know, and I know, I've looked at some results again today. There's hidings in this league, you know. There's games where you're not in them. There is. The quality in this league is frightening. However, we've been in more than enough games and been in it to the death more than enough times to not have got the win yet. And today we've done it. I think what's important from my point of view now is for us to be able to win those games when we're maybe not as dominant as we were in the second half. I thought we were the best team in the second half and pushed for the win and got the win.
It's amazing what a win can do in the season, isn't it? That can do wonders for that dressing room. I mean, just seeing the players walk behind you, they look like different human beings already.
Yeah, listen, it's the best job in the world, but it can be tough. It can be tough, but you can't feel sorry for yourselves when things are going against you. You just can't. You've got to put in performances like that, and I think today you can see there's no one feeling sorry for themselves. Everyone's fighting and everyone got what they deserved today.
Big win for Sheffield United, but it doesn't lift them off the bottom of the Premier League table. Bournemouth are fourth bottom, 1 point above Luton, despite a 6-1 hammering at Manchester City. Erling Haaland did come off injured at half-time. Despite the one-sided scoreline, City boss Pep Guardiola has praised the courage shown by Bournemouth.
When a team is losing 3-0 and have the courage to do man-to-man means a lot to me. A lot of respect for Andoni and for Bournemouth. And yeah, the quality we have up front make the difference. And yeah, we have in a good moment right now.
What a productive day for Jeremy Doku for you today. 1 goal and I think it was 4 assists as well. What about the way that he's adapted to life at Manchester City? It seems as if he's settled very, very quickly.
Well, if you ask me how he settled, if you see how he's playing, he's settled quick. It's not just today. And all the games I played really, really good. We are really pleased.
Bernardo Silva gives us the same level of performance wherever you play him, it seems.
That's why he's...
Is there anyone playing better than him, do you think, at the moment? In the league or in Europe?
In the world, yeah. I said many times, he's an extraordinary player, and today make a good shoot in a short corner, and after the first goal and the action for the second was looks like Messi, you know. I remember in that moment when arriving the keeper and make this chipping, I remember Messi that had done many times.
Finally, Erling Haaland went off at half-time. Is he okay? Has he picked up an injury?
Yeah, I have some twist in the ankle. He didn't feel comfortable, and we didn't take risks. Hopefully next Tuesday or mainly next Sunday against Chelsea.
Pep Guardiola with Match of the Day, Simon Brotherton. Match of the Day, BBC One tonight, 10:20, Gary Lineker, Danny Murphy and Martin Keown. A big result in the early game in the Premier League. Manchester United winning 1-0 at Fulham, courtesy of an injury-time Bruno Fernandes goal. Must be a relief for the United manager, Erik ten Hag.
You hope that it's one of the days that we needed a goal, we needed to win after 2 defeats. So if that goal is coming, then very happy.
Pressure's been building. How important is it for you personally to get the win today?
If you don't want to face pressure, don't go to work at Man United. That counts for everyone. That counts for the players, counts for the coaches, counts for the manager in particular. But we can deal with that. We focus on performance.
Given the 2 results you've just had, what pleased you most about today?
That we today, the spirit from the team, but the recovery. And that is the demand we have spoken about the last couple of days. We have to do that better, and today was much better because Fulham is a good side on the ball, and not many teams get the press on against them, and that is what we did. We didn't allow them to get into the game, control the game with a very good press, and I think also on the ball it was solid.
Erik ten Hag with John Southall. Brentford came from behind to win 3-2 against West Ham. Thomas Frank feels his team deserves a lot of credit for that performance.
Second half, in my opinion, there was only one team on the pitch. And the way we were calm, disciplined, kept going, turned the game around, it's very impressive.
We've seen you score some lovely goals on the floor this season, but your 2 goals in the second half came from 2 crosses into the penalty area. As a manager, I guess you don't really mind how they go in, but a nice variety for you.
Yeah, definitely. We're actually quite big on crosses. Either the early cross or the 2 crosses we scored from the second half, or the low cross of the ball under. So we work a lot on that. But it was very nice to see.
3 wins on the spin now after a good start, then a little wobble, and now 3 wins on the spin. You must be pleased that you're back on track, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm so pleased that we now got 3 wins in a row, and I think us doing that, it's difficult in this league. But us doing that with the amount of injuries we had this season, we have now we lost Aaron Hickey before this game to hamstring injury. 7 players out plus Ivan Toney. That's incredible. We put some strong players on the pitch, but we don't have the same power to shoot with. West Ham, they put Danny Ings on 100 Premier League goals. We don't have that. So the players, everyone involved, deserve a huge amount of credit.
That's Thomas Frank with Chris Coles in the big FA Cup upset today. 8th tier Ramsgate beat National League side Woking 2-1 to book their place in round 2. Here's the Ramsgate manager Ben Smith.
For us, it's a case we're building a community club here. The work that goes on off the pitch, it gets showcased when you get to these rounds of the FA Cup, and the chairman must take a massive amount of credit for this. He's built his club up from having 100 in attendance to regularly hitting 1,000. Yesterday was our big day with 3,000. But yeah, the way the club has grown is just incredible, and I'm delighted to be a part of it.
How are you going to enjoy this evening?
Oh, we just got to soak it in, enjoy it. You don't get these times in football, don't come around too often. You just got to enjoy it. That's why I'm in football. I'm not in football to be a full-time manager. I'm a deputy head teacher of a school. It's about enjoying it and making memories. And if we can leave a legacy for those young lads that were there today, those little moments for a deprived area, like Thanet is, I think are gold dust, and we've given a golden moment to so many people.
Best day in your footballing life?
Absolutely.
Ramsgate manager Ben Smith asked how he's going to celebrate with the party already starting behind him. 08085 909 693. Robbie Savage and Natalie Pike will be with you for 6:06 after full time at St James's. Afternoon, Natalie.
Good afternoon. I wish I was in Ramsgate right now,
Sounded, I don't know if it's my kind of music, but I could get into it for an FA Cup celebration. Why not? There's a lot to get through there. What do you want to talk about?
There is a huge amount of football. So many stories that have happened today. First of all, I'd love to speak to a Ramsgate fan. If you were at the game today, come on and tell us how you are celebrating. Manchester United fans, how much relief do you feel after getting that late winner today? Could this kickstart your season? Sheffield United fans, first win of the season. How big is that? Can they fight? Can they survive? Will this kick them on? I'd love to speak to Championship teams of the Championship as well. Preston fans, any of the teams in the Championship, and also Chelsea fans. Huge win for them in the WSL today, but they had the news that Emma Hayes is leaving at the end of the season. So Chelsea fans as well, what do you make of the Emma Hayes news? And City fans, are you worried about Haaland? And is Doku the greatest signing of the year?
There you go.
Easy.
There you go. And Pep Guardiola says Bernardo Silva's basically Lionel Messi now. So
basically, great, lovely, we'll take that.
08085 909 693. Natalie, thank you very much
indeed.
Thank you. Natalie Pike, who's with Robbie Savage for 6:06. That will be with you once we're done at St James's Park. Newcastle versus Arsenal is going to get underway shortly in the second half. We've got boxing tonight as well on 5 Live from 10 o'clock. An IBF super featherweight title fight between Wales's Joe Cordina and the American Edward Vasquez. Let's bring in the former world champion Barry Jones, who is part of our team. Barry, just tell us what's on the line tonight. Why should we be excited about this fight?
Well, what's on the line tonight is not only Joe's IBF Super Featherweight Championship of the world, but also the promise of bigger fights ahead. Obviously, there's a unification match with Oshaki Foster, the WBC champion, just recently had a fantastic win, coming from behind there for a late stoppage, and also Emmanuel Navarrete is a huge name in the States. But more than that, there's the WBA featherweight champion who's moved up now to Joe Cordina's weight, and that's, of course, is Lee Wood. Now, that's a huge fight. That's a stadium fight in the City Ground in Nottingham, and that's where Joe will not only cement his legacy, but that financial wealth that they always talk about, boxers these days, about securing their future for their families. That's the fight. And so this fight tonight, Joe's a massive favourite, of course, Joe Cordina, but we've seen slip-ups many times in boxing, and this is one where he can't make a mistake tonight.
Thank you very much indeed, Barry. Barry is a big part of our team tonight. 10 o'clock, 5 Live for Wales' Joe Cordina and the American Eduard Vasquez. Right, you're up to date on 5 Live and the teams are just leaving the tunnel at St James's Park. Second half commentary in the Premier League. Remember, 08085 909 693. Get your calls in now for 606, which will follow the second half of Newcastle against Arsenal with your commentary team, Chris Waddle and correspondent John Murray.
Yes, thank you, Steve. Welcome back, everyone, to St James's Park. Disappointing so far, Chris, the match. And what's doubly disappointing is that it's just starting to rain, so we can feel that. And Newcastle are going to make a change. Livramento is going to come on. Dan Burn, who injured a hip, I think, either his hip or his back. You know, so there's clearly going to be a question there as well about Dortmund, whether he'll be fit for that next week. But what's going to be interesting now is that with Livramento coming on, who did so well at Old Trafford on Wednesday night, does this mean that Trippier's going to move across to left back?
Well, if looking at it, it does look that way. Livramento had a great game at Man United the other night at right side. We know, we've seen him over the years. He's very good going forward, carries the ball very well. And it would make sense to bring Trippier over, who does play with England and trains with Saka. You know him inside out. I'll be very surprised if Trippier doesn't go, which he is going across the left back.
Yes, he is. They're just running out now, just leaving the tunnel, which is very close to us here, just down in front of us. The Arsenal players being mildly booed out. Red shirts, white sleeves. There is the number 33 of Dan Burn on Graham Scott's electronic board. So yes, Trippier's gone to the left-hand side. And Tino Livramento, the August signing from Southampton, the former Chelsea youngster. This is only his 7th appearance for Newcastle, and he's just running his fingers through his black hair and limbering up, twisting his hips. And 52,194 is the official crowd. Not quite the biggest of the season for Newcastle. So there is the whistle from referee Stuart Atwell, who's had a real job on his hands taking charge of this so far. Newcastle kick off in the second half with the score 0-0. Barely a save made by either of the goalkeepers. And Newcastle now with Pope in goal, Livramento at right back, Lascelles, Schär and Trippier in that role that we've seen him play so often with England. Midfield of Longstaff, Guimarães and Joe Linton, then Almiron, Wilson and Gordon. And then Arsenal's team, Raya in goal, White, William Saliba, Gabriel and Tomiyasu at left back, although he's quite often appeared in midfield. Jorginho is there in the central role, Rice to the left and Havertz to the right of him, then Saka and Nketiah and Martinelli. Newcastle, black and white striped shirts, black shorts, white socks. It's the Premier League, not the Champions League, so it's difficult to see the red numbers as Guimarães plays the ball to Trippier, who's over on the left-hand side. But as we often say when he plays at left back for England, you know, he's naturally on his right foot, so you do lose that when he plays in an attacking sense on the right, whereas he's such an important part of Newcastle coming forward. Kieran Trippier on the right. He's actually had 6 assists in the Premier League this season, Kieran Trippier. Here's Joe Linton now, 25 yards out, the Brazilian to the edge of the box, gives it to Gordon. Gordon drops his shoulder, right-footed cross, that's headed up partly away by Declan Rice, and then shouts for a free kick for the challenge on Bruno Guimarães. Referee Atwell ignores that. Havertz is already beyond the centre circle, gives it to the right-hand side to Saka. Saka approaching the box, challenge comes in on him, that takes the ball away, but Arsenal back in possession. It's played from the right by White to Rice. Now Martinelli, left corner of the box, takes on Livramento. Livramento goes down with a challenge and plays it into Martinelli and behind for a goal kick, and that's a good start from the young right back.
Yeah, I like Livramento. He's a very good player, very good going forward as well, but that'll give him a lot of confidence, that challenge on Martinelli, and he wins the goal kick as well. So it started very much like the first half. Both teams showing a lot of respect. We're waiting for that little bit of class, really.
Hood goes up officially. Hoods are going up all around the commentary position in front of us. I learned this morning, I was on with Patrick Keelty this morning on Beat the Commentator against young Thomas. I learned that you can get an umbrella in the Newcastle club shop for just £80. Free kick to Arsenal, forward of the centre circle, gives it to the right hand side to Saka. Saka now back centrally to Jorginho, and then back towards Tomiyasu, nearer to the halfway line. Square from him to Jorginho, and then on the right, White is there, and the rain is now coming down quite steadily. Jorginho down the right, White gets his head down. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to reach it. He does get the cross in. Rice is underneath that, but he was up against Lascelles and could only head it up into the air, and I think they actually cracked heads as well together. They're okay, they haven't gone down, and Nick Pope's got the ball.
Great ball. White did ever so well to get his foot round that in the corner flag and dig it out to the far post.
So Newcastle in possession. That rain, it's cold rain, isn't it, that? Feels like it's swept in right off the North Sea. As Wilson's down in front of us, Gabriel puts the challenge in on him. They're still tangling, the two of them, right down in front of us. Play continuing. Here's Nketiah near the edge of the box. Hasn't had a chance yet in this match. The hat-trick scorer of last weekend. Saka, right side of the box. White makes the run, but it comes back centrally to Jorginho. There's no Odegaard. Rice with a lovely pass to Ben White, who couldn't beat the first defender, Kieran Trippier. And Newcastle look to break away as they attack towards the Gallowgate end. It's actually been held up by Bruno Guimaraes. Gives it to his fellow Brazilian, Joe Linton. But then Havertz slid in with a challenge on him. The referee, the Newcastle fans are saying that Wilson was fouled centrally, but he's getting back to his feet. Here's Livramento now on the right-hand side. Man of the match, as Newcastle won at Old Trafford on Wednesday night. Almiron, square towards Jorginho with the blonde hair. Now to Trippier, but this move has gone static. It's almost a stationary ball that Cher has at his feet. Back to Trippier, up towards the corner of the box, and then Saka blocks it out for a throw on the far side. I mean, they have cancelled each other out, Chris. That's what's happened.
Yeah, they have. They've matched up, and it's like no risk, John. Nobody wants to show that bit of quality, that little bit of risk where you know something might happen. You know, they're all playing very, very safe. It's like as if they're quite happy if it stays 0-0.
Throw-in is taken over on the far side, and the rain is coming down quite heavily now. Mikel Arteta's unhappy about something that's happening on the far side. I think it's the way that Newcastle have got possession back, and it's played by Cher out towards the left-hand side to Trippier, and then Newcastle just playing it back towards the edge of their penalty area. Out to the left, Trippier towards Joe Linton, who's almost on the left wing, does well, plays it infield. Gordon in a more central role, through the middle, looking for the run of Wilson, but Gabriel was able to step forward for Arsenal. And now Nketiah leaning into Lascelles. That looked like a foul. Certainly Trippier wanted that. But Kieran Trippier has to pass it back into central defence. And Lascelles straight back up on his feet. Lascelles an extended spell in the team because of the injury to Botman. So Dan Burn, that'll be one of the questions that will be asked. Rob Schofield is here with us. They'll be asking the questions to the managers. You'll hear them in 6:06 later. Eddie Howe about what Dan Burn's chances are of being involved in Dortmund on Tuesday night. You'll hear that match. 5:45 kickoff, by the way, starting our Champions League coverage this coming midweek, live from Germany, the commentary. Here is Gordon. Gordon now through the middle towards Almiron. Livramento is available on the right-hand side. Livramento with a cross, but goalkeeper Raya is able to come out and clutch that ball quite comfortably, caught it and underarms it out. Chris Waddle.
I like Livramento. He gets forward ever so well. I know he leaves a gap there, Martinelli. It's been cancelled out again, but Martinelli will not enjoy tracking Livramento every time he goes forward, which he's got to.
Yep, Tino Livramento, he's been earmarked, hasn't he, really, since he was a very young boy, that he would be going places, and then got those injuries, of course, which meant that he was barely able to play in his latter time at Southampton. Valentino, to give him his full first name. Don't know how many Valentinos we've commentated on, you and I, over the years together. No. Not many. I can't think of another one. Here's the ball headed back by Joe Linton. Bruno Guimaraes drives the pass forward to Gordon. Left side of the box now, up against White, onto his right foot, trying to find a position to shoot. He's in the D now. Then he backheels it to Guimaraes, and then Guimaraes just stabs it to the left. Cross from Trippier, left-footed, but that's headed away by Arsenal. And then there's a foul as Gordon and Nketiah collide, and it's a free kick to Arsenal. And that's the end of that.
I think Gordon's been booked, hasn't he?
Yes,
I'm just wondering, you stay. Well, it's definitely foul, but he stays down. The referee just obviously has a quiet word with him, but I mean, both teams, John, at times they move the ball well. But once they get over the halfway line and then up towards the final third, they're just lacking ideas or belief, confidence, whatever you want to say. Nobody wants to take a risk.
So it's a free kick for Arsenal. That is played down the right to Saka, who is leaned into by Trippier. That's the experience of Kieran Trippier there, not giving Saka any space, and actually he's conceded the free kick. So it's a free kick to Arsenal, 5 or 6 yards inside the Newcastle half. Lines are open for 606 now, by the way, if you want to join in the conversation. 08085 909 693. Robbie Savage with Natalie Pike tonight. Free kick taken by Arsenal towards the edge of the penalty area. Tomiyasu, then Nketiah misses his kick. It bounced up. He was trying to hit the volley. Miss-hit it, didn't really strike it at all. Then forward. Almiron's taken it away from Wilson in the centre circle. Almiron to Gordon. Gordon from the angle. Shoots across goal, but defenders were back in there. White slid in, actually, and blocked it. And Raya picked it up.
That's where I think Newcastle's at the best, when teams come onto them and they hit them on the break. Wilson, Almiron and Gordon really couldn't get the ball out of his feet.
Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 0. BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen as well via BBC Sounds to the live radio. All of the BBC's radio is on there. You can find it, listen, go back and listen again. And of course that's where the podcasts are. The Callum Wilson, Mikel Antonio podcast is, if you search for the Players channel, you will find that, the football podcast on BBC Sounds. Callum Wilson out there. Isaac won't be back until after the internationals. Gabriel Jesus out for Arsenal. So a headline yesterday that said Arteta does not know when Jesus will return. Gabriel playing the ball from the halfway line out towards the far side, and it deflects out of play. I know the managers have got to cover all sorts of issues these days. To throw in for Arsenal. White to take the throw down the line, and it skips on off the now wet turf, but Saka gets there, hoists the ball back. Martinelli goes for the volley, and it's actually landed at the feet of Havertz, who shoots. It's deflected, and Pope's able to come out and gather it. Martinelli.
I mean, I don't know what Martinelli was trying to do there, by the way.
I was a bit like, who was it the other week?
We're waiting.
Madison shot the other week.
We're just waiting for somebody to produce a bit of quality. There's enough players out there who can do that, but we're just not seeing it.
No. If he, what he was looking to do there, Martinelli, was try and catch that purely. And
it's goal of the season if he catches it.
It is, but he didn't, and it went actually at sort of 15 degrees off to his right. He almost set up Havertz. Here's Wilson in the centre circle. The rain just easing a little. Well, now Gabriel's gone down. I think that was a flailing arm, but it's been taken forward through the middle by Nketiah. Excellent challenge from Lascelles, and he's making out that he was caught by an arm in his face as well, although he's back up on his feet. So's Gabriel.
No, that's a shock
as well. Well, it is Saturday night, Chris, but at times it's been like an episode of casualty.
I'll tell you one about Elton John there Saturday night.
Saturday night's all right.
Well, it's definitely, well,
yeah. Ball played forward by Saliba, but that bounces all the way through for a goal kick. I mean, there's so little between the teams. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why it is like it is.
They just cancelled each other out. And as I say, you look at a lot of international footballers out there, quality footballers, and you're waiting for a little bit of brilliance.
So it is still 0-0. They did draw 0-0 in the league at the Emirates last season. Arsenal won 2-0 here. The rain comes on again rather heavily, and I know who'll be sitting in his car laughing at us, Ian Dennis, who will be on his way back from the earlier commentary at Goodison Park. I did laugh at him getting wet during the Newcastle Borussia Dortmund game. I should have known that would come back and bite me. So it's
and it has.
It has in the very next game here. So Nick Pope has got the ball on the edge of his 6-yard box.
Isn't it great how they put the media in the rain?
Well, just wait till St James's Park is rebuilt by the Saudi ownership. Then we'll be all right.
Yeah, and we'll be about 106.
Well, let's see about that. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. Challenge on the halfway line on Gordon, but no free kick given for that. And then the ball's deflected out of the field by Joe Linton, who put the challenge in on Havertz, who is on a yellow card. So Newcastle certainly trying to wind up Havertz, which is what Joe Linton is doing with him now.
Well, I'm looking at Arteta talking to his assistant, and they must be thinking, how can we change this? Because we're not going to win the game playing like this.
Yep. They'll feel as though they have to win this, keep pace with Manchester City. But as Chris has pointed out already, Newcastle will feel likewise. Ball through the middle. Back to the halfway line for Gabriel. Forward towards Martinelli now on the left-hand side. Going to go back to Hampden in a moment or two, but Rice square towards Jorginho. Arsenal in possession inside the Newcastle half as they move slowly towards the Leazes End, where the Arsenal fans are way up in that top tier, thousands of them here tonight. Then Bruno Guimaraes in with a challenge on Jorginho, who's gone down rather easily again. Bruno Guimaraes tells him to get up. You wouldn't be at all surprised if there was a sending off in this match. As Newcastle win it back, ball played infield towards Wilson, but Gabriel was able to come across and clear it for Arsenal. And now Martinelli's motoring up against Livramento. Livramento back into position, so he's got to play it infield towards Tomiyasu. Now Livramento, now Martinelli again infield. Tomiyasu square. Ben White's joined the attack. Saka now on the right-hand side. Newcastle have got two men on him. Havertz is inside the area on the right. Here's the cross from White, but he's overhit that and it lands beyond the far post. It is still 0-0 here in the Premier League at St James's Park on 5 Live. And let's go to Glasgow, to Hampden and Gavin Wallace.
John, it's a goal for Aberdeen. It's Hibs 0. Aberdeen won. The goal earlier on, by the way, was actually taken off for offside. Martin Boyle earlier just missed out on the offside trap. A couple of minutes ago before you came to me, Jack McKenzie was sent off for Aberdeen for an off-the-ball incident with Lewis Miller. And completely against the run of play, Bojan Miovski on the left-hand side cuts in and put it well beyond David Marshall at his far left-hand post against the run of play. Hibs 0, Aberdeen 1.
Thank you, Gavin. By the way, Bromley 0, Blackpool 2 is the latest score in the FA Cup first round match. The 5:45 kick-off and commentary on Sports Extra on the sprint race at the Brazilian Grand Prix. The boxing, the Joe Cordina fight, will be live on 5 Live after 6:06. Here is Rice now for Arsenal. Rice to Havertz on the edge of the box, almost fell to Nketiah. There was a challenge on Havertz right on the edge of the area, but a clean one according to referee Atwell. Still Arsenal in possession. Jorginho. Nketiah still down inside the box. Rice to Jorginho, 30 yards out. Tomiyasu. Nketiah's only just getting up now. Martinelli on the ball. Livramento with him. Back it goes centrally. Jorginho has a look over his shoulder. Jorginho wants the movement. He's beckoning forward with both arms outstretched. Gives it to Rice to his left. Tomiyasu further towards the left. And then Arsenal go back towards the halfway line. Newcastle, you can see the lines. Arsenal trying to find a way through. That's a good ball. Rice to Martinelli. Martinelli's chipped to the back post, away from Trippier, and then headed wide by Rice, who was arriving onto it. Got a header to it, and it's out of play, wide by 3 or 4 yards. And Nketiah's sat down in the 6-yard box. And Newcastle are actually going to be next to make a change, and it's Joe Willock who is going to come on. So it's actually Newcastle who are going to make the next change.
Well, that was the best bit of play Arsenal's played all game, and there's a good chance Rice comes up with a follow-up with a header which goes wide, but the approach play was the best we've seen from Arsenal, and it's took them 60 minutes to show what they can do. Double substitution.
Interesting, because Callum Wilson's coming off.
Gordon's going centre forward.
Yeah, well, that's how they played it at Old Trafford the other night.
Yep.
So the double change.
Joe Linton left, Willock into midfield.
Almiron also coming off, and Jacob Murphy makes his return. So this is a significant change here from Newcastle, from Eddie Howe.
Also coming off, number 24, Mickey Almiron.
So Murphy onto the right-hand side.
It's been one of them games, John, though, isn't it? I mean, some players coming off may think, why me? But he could have took most of them off, couldn't he? Let's be honest. There's nobody tonight, really. They're all committed. But when you're looking for what they can offer, they've not shown it tonight.
So Willock coming on. Joe Willock, who's missed most of the season so far. He had that Achilles injury, so this is only his 4th appearance since coming back. Scored the 3rd goal on Wednesday night at Old Trafford. So Willock has taken up a position in the midfield, on the left-hand side of midfield, and Joe Linton further forward, and here is Joe Linton now trying to chest the ball down near the edge of the box. Murphy could be under this. Murphy pulls the shot right across the penalty area. The crowd shouting for a possible penalty for a challenge on Joe Linton. Ball's been kept in on the left-hand side, chipped across, Joe Linton on the line, and then in from Gordon, and Newcastle take the lead. Joe Linton with the initial header, it was blocked, but Gordon was there, just a couple of yards out, and Newcastle are in front against Arsenal, 1-0.
I think there'll be a VAR on this, definitely. There's a lot of things happening. That ball did it. I mean, he did ever so well to keep the ball in, and the cross was great. Was a scramble? Was he offside? There's a lot of things to look at here.
This could take some time.
Yes, this could, definitely.
Initially in there were shouts for a penalty for a foul on Joe Linton.
Yep.
The Arsenal players are surrounding referee Atwell, who's obviously waiting to get advice. But it was kept in over on the far side after that initial shot across goal. It was Willock who kept it in and then crossed. And the question here is whether Joe Linton fouled the Arsenal player almost on the goal line.
Yes, he did.
A shove in the back?
Yes, he did.
On Gabriel?
Well, we'll see. Are they brave enough? That's out of play anyway, John. Look at that.
Oh, and also the ball's out of play.
There you go. Listen, there's too many things. There's no way this is a goal. Well, if this is a goal, right? VAR, well...
The ball was out of play.
It was out of play.
Before it was kept in when the ball was played across, so this goal will not stand. And now the rain is absolutely hammering down.
Yeah.
So this goal will not stand. The goal disallowed.
It's got to be.
The ball out of play, and it will resume as a goal kick. And the rain is now absolutely torrential. So 0-0, Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 0, goalless draw. Not really many chances in the match. We thought we had a goal there for Newcastle. It's been ruled out. And there's also a check going on for a possible foul, but surely the ball is out of play.
Yeah.
Unless VAR has decided, and I know it can be misleading, the whole incident of ball is out of play depending on what the angle is. But then there's the possible foul by Joe Linton on Gabriel.
It is a foul, and the ball's out of play. I don't know how does it take so long. This.
Well, they must have not been able to prove that the ball was out of play, even though it looked clearly out of play before the cross. So now it's come to the possible foul, and I mean, Joe Linton looks as though he has both hands in the back of Gabriel. And
can somebody tell the ref it's raining? Never mind VAR.
And there's a possible offside as well.
Oh wow!
But does that mean? Are we saying now that they've decided that's not a foul by Joe Linton?
That's unbelievable.
Because if that's the case, and they've decided that the ball didn't go out, and that wasn't a foul by Joe Linton, now it's down to whether one of the Newcastle players were offside, because two of them were beyond. There was only one defender back. The goalkeeper was ahead of the two Newcastle players when the cross came in, and the question will be whether the ball actually.
Well, this is unbelievable.
We knew this would take a good while.
Yeah, but John, the first one, the ball's out of play. They didn't need to look at this.
So now we've got 52,194 people here inside St James's Park. The rain pouring down.
Yep.
Nothing happening apart from VAR checks going on. This is the third VAR check.
Yep.
Still the players are gathered around the referee inside the penalty area, and we'll wait to see whether this Anthony Gordon goal is going to be allowed. Still the talking going on. It looks as though well, Jason Tyndall's celebrating there. It's a goal. Well, I have to say, you're going to have to explain to me how that's been allowed.
Wow.
That's quite baffling.
Wow. Well, I'm sure Match Today will have a field day tonight talking about that, as a lot of people will be. I mean, it's great for the game, I've got to say, but how can you give that a go? Wow.
Well, that is, I have to say, I'm amazed by that. on at least 2 counts out of the 3.
Exactly.
We've not seen the red lines. We didn't see the lines being drawn by VAR, but we've seen the other 2 incidents. And I felt particularly the push by Joe Linton on Gabriel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unfortunately, there's not a lot of talking points in this game, let's be honest, but
there is now.
This is massive talking points now later on, so wow.
Well, you can hear what that's done to the atmosphere inside St James's Park, and now Arsenal are looking at the possibility of losing in the Premier League for the first time this season. And let me tell you, Mikel Arteta will have plenty to say about this. I mean, there was a question over whether the ball was kept in, and the pictures we've had of that would certainly indicate that the ball was out, but I know it can be misleading. But it's Joe Linton's challenge on Gabriel that is...
I'd like to see the one out again, because it looked out what we saw. We only saw it briefly, I know that.
Yeah.
Now, we're getting a great angle here of Joe Linton and his... Oh, he doesn't let him... It's 2 hands in his back. I mean...
And then it falls to Gordon, who turns it in from a yard and a half out.
Wow.
Rain absolutely pelting down. And we're just waiting here. Another stoppage in play. Newcastle have got a free kick in front of there, halfway inside their own half. But the score: Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 0, and Anthony Gordon's goal. You won't get too many easier opportunities than that. It was an empty net. He was standing in the middle of the goal when it bounced to him, and with his right foot swept it in. But we will certainly ask the question to the Premier League Match Centre to see what they've got to say about this. But it's another debatable decision that you'll be able to talk about with Robbie Savage and Natalie Pike on 606 later.
That'll be an apology on Monday.
08085 909 693 to join in the conversation tonight. Here is Martinelli. So now it's Arsenal who've got a cause. Mikel Arteta standing there in the torrential rain as Livramento slides in on Martinelli. Throw in. Tomiyasu takes that. Quick throw down the line. Martinelli is away from Livramento, but he's coming back up the touchline this way towards the halfway line. Gives it to Declan Rice. Zinchenko is going to come on as Arsenal's next change. Indeed, Arsenal's first substitution to be used by Mikel Arteta. No Odegaard tonight. He's had this hip problem. So Jorginho captaining the team, and Arsenal, who I think probably over the piece have had more of the match, and I think have looked more threatening, but haven't been able really to test Nick Pope. Now they've got to come from a goal down. Saka going back towards the halfway line. Newcastle United, who've already won at Old Trafford this week, knocking Manchester United out of the League Cup. What a week it would be if they could now win in the Premier League against Arsenal here on the Saturday. But Arsenal with Tomiyasu, well, that's asking an awful lot of Martinelli, who won't get there first. Livramento does. I think he was fouled possibly as well by Martinelli. He didn't go to ground, but in actual fact it's been given as a corner. So the final touch, it was over the line. The assistant on the far side has given that one, and it's a corner. The referee's now running over to speak to Martinelli, I presume to tell him to make sure the ball's in the quadrant. That's the only thing I can think that's about. Zinchenko is waiting to come onto the field. He looks like a drowned rat, Zinchenko. He'd be cold as well. In fact, he's rubbing his hands together. Can't wait to get into the action. And the corner is taken. Martinelli in, comes off a Newcastle head at the near post, which took it right across the goal and beyond the far post for another corner.
Murphy, wasn't it? The near post just tries to head it clear, comes up to save his head. It's another corner. Saka taking it from the right hand side, but
yeah, Saka to take this, so it's the in-swinger. We've got less than 20 minutes to go. Newcastle leading through that controversial goal. Saka with the in-swinging left-footed corner. Here's the delivery now to the near post. Attempted flick on by Tomiyasu, who's blocked by two Newcastle defenders. And in fact, the final touch was off Tomiyasu. And it is a goal kick to Newcastle.
Who's coming off?
It's actually White who's coming off, so Tomiyasu must be going to go across
right back.
Zinchenko
Number 35, Alexander Shevchenko.
comes on at left back. 1-0 Newcastle lead. I will quite like to know what the time of the goal was for Newcastle, because by the time it was actually given, it was probably about 4 minutes later, and it was actually timed as 64th minute. That's what it's gone down as. You can read all about this match as well on the football pages of the BBC Sport website. Phil McNulty is here. He'll be writing his match report. He'll be talking about that goal, certainly, and see it on Match of the Day tonight on BBC One, or indeed any time on the iPlayer Match of the Day. Here is Willock on the left-hand side for Newcastle. Willock taking on.
Yeah, it's a goal kick. He's went one way or the other, but
came off Willock in the end. Goal kick.
So it's a goal kick. But Arsenal haven't really offered anything since that goal. They've not really offered anything all match. They've had decent possession, but nobody seems to want to take any risk. There's no creativity in the team.
Yep. Odegaard, when he's at his best, and I don't know how long he's been playing with this hip injury, as Newcastle with Trippier very nearly find a way through, but that's given us a free kick actually when Trippier initially won it back. So now Arsenal, they're facing the possibility of going out of the League Cup and being beaten in the Premier League for the first time in the space of 4 days. Zinchenko back towards Rice. The rain has eased a little, and now Saliba on the halfway line. 15 minutes to go. The Arsenal supporters in great voice, great numbers to come for a Saturday evening match. Not sure the last time the train will run. Here is Martinelli, who gets his head down in the centre circle, comes through the middle. And Nketiah, then back towards Jorginho. Now Declan Rice. Rice finds the pass to Zinchenko. Zinchenko just bounced off him. Livramento was quickly onto him. Comes back to Rice again. Jorginho, though, goes back towards the halfway line. Groans from the Arsenal supporters for that. And Gabriel had to actually take a few moments to get the ball under control. Martinelli. But Newcastle have dropped right back into position now. You know, this is where Newcastle and Eddie Howe wanted them.
This is what they want to do, catch them on the break. That's what Newcastle are good at. Very good at counter-attacking.
Yeah, Gordon through the middle. Joe Linton on the left, Murphy on the right. And with the pace of Gordon and Murphy as well, you know, that's what Newcastle are looking for here, to get that breakaway opportunity. So they're just sitting right back, Newcastle, with Arsenal in possession. And now less than 15 minutes to go. Martinelli infield against Livramento, goes for the early cross right towards the back post. Not sure whether that came off Trippier.
No.
There were two Arsenal players there. It didn't. It bounced through him. It's given us a goal kick, and Trippier's actually sat down.
Well, we'll see. But I mean, Saka thinks it did, didn't it? Trippier now sat down. Not know if he's injured as well.
Might have just glanced his back, you know.
No.
As it went through, but it's been given as a goal kick, and Trippier has gone down.
Yeah.
And again, you know, one of the first things we said today, Chris, was that Newcastle, Eddie Howe, would not want any more injuries before the Champions League match next week. They've already lost Byrne, and Trippier has got to his feet. We're just seeing a screenshot here of the ball. You know, in the build-up to the goal, the question being whether it was out of play. Now, from the angle that we've got of the screenshot, it looks as though the ball's out of play, but that is not an angle which is right down the line. As we learned, well, we've learned, haven't we, so many times. Certainly at the World Cup there was a famous incident, wasn't there? And it might well be that the whole of the ball was not over the line. So therefore, you would like to think that VAR would have been able to have a view that would have confirmed that, which is why they made the decision that the ball was not over the line. However, there was still then the challenge by Joe Linton on Gabriel.
This will be a massive talking point, John. I mean, looking at that thing we just saw there, it looks well out, doesn't it? I know you're saying it's a funny angle, but
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in actual fact it wasn't out of play. Anyway, 1-0, the goal stands. Anthony Gordon's goal. Murphy has it down in front of his Arsenal players in front of him. Trossard waiting to come on, the next Arsenal change, as Arsenal chase the game here. Arsenal, after a run of 11 Premier League matches without defeat. Vieira also going to come onto the field for Arsenal. Newcastle with Cher, long right-footed ball from him. He's found Murphy, who chests it forward, but Zinchenko's in there as well for Arsenal and is able to play it back to Raya. And he's injured his shoulder again. Murphy's not going to be able to continue. Well, he came back early. We talked about it in the first half, and they're going to try and. It looks as though they're trying to put it back in. It looks as though it slipped out, and yeah, I think that's it. No, they've taken a risk with him. They've taken a gamble. Clearly, they thought that he was okay, and he's not. And Murphy is going to have to leave the field.
That's a massive gamble, though, John.
Big surprise, that isn't it?
I don't get that. If he said he feels all right, and there's a fair chance the medical staff would have said that could easily go again, and it has. As soon as he sprinted there, he gets his power coming through his arms, that's gone straight away. That's very surprising.
Okay, Trossard and Vieira coming on for Jorginho and Nketiah. Meanwhile, Matt Ritchie is going to come on for Newcastle. And while they make that change, let's get another update from Hampden on the semi-final. Gavin Wallace.
It's still Hibs nil, Aberdeen 1. We are deep into stoppage time. 7 minutes of it. I actually make it 7 minutes and 10 seconds as Hibs go for a long throw. Bojan Miovski is the difference between the two at the moment, but full time is hurtling towards us, John. It's still Hibs nil, Aberdeen 1.
Matt Ritchie has come on for what is his 200th appearance for Newcastle. Matt Ritchie started the game on Wednesday in the Cup. That was his first appearance since April. So Matt Ritchie come on with substitute Murphy having to be substituted for injuring his shoulder again. The injury that's kept him out for a couple of matches. And that is really tough for him. And now here's Havertz for Arsenal. Pulls the ball across and it's slid away behind by Cher. And it really opened up for Arsenal there on the right side of the Newcastle defence, but Cher to the rescue.
A bit of luck, was it? Shevchenko's pass came off Livramento into the pass of Havertz. I don't know, he seems to rush it. He doesn't pick anybody out. He just puts it into an area which is easy cleared by Cher for a corner.
Corner to Arsenal. Newcastle leading 1-0. Trossard just under the field. He's going to take this. Zinchenko makes himself available on the edge of the box. Arsenal players grouped beyond the far post as Trossard looks to take this. He waits. Still he waits. Right, here is the corner, which is taken short to Zinchenko. Trossard wants it back, which he does, gets it back. Joe Linton tries to get there. The cross from Trossard, headed across the box, and Joe Linton in position near the dead ball line, just volleys it away up in the air. Header is won back for Arsenal by Saliba. But Joe Linton's there again for Newcastle to get in between Trossard and Martinelli, win the ball back, and then play it across the penalty area. That little episode there sums up just why Joe Linton's so popular after his early difficulties as a Newcastle player. And it is all over in the semi-final, Gavin.
It is indeed, John. Hibernian nil, Aberdeen 1. No need to mention the first half. The second, though, exploded into life. Martin Boyle on 48 had a goal chopped off from VAR. It took a good 6 or 7 minutes. Jack McKenzie made Aberdeen go down to 10 men. He got involved with Lewis Miller. There was no need for that as well. And then against the run of play, Dante Polvara slipped in Bojan Miovski, and the composure to slip it beyond David Marshall was absolutely superb. Aberdeen get through to the final to play Hearts of Rangers on the 17th of December by the skin of their teeth. Hibs nil, Aberdeen 1.
Yeah, you'll have coverage of Hearts Rangers tomorrow on 5 Live. All the top football, more FA Cup tomorrow, and 2 Premier League commentaries. Nottingham Forest against Aston Villa, Luton Town against Liverpool. 5 Live, the place to hear them tomorrow. 2 o'clock, 4:30 the kick-off times, and also India South Africa in the morning on Sports Extra, live from India in the Cricket World Cup. We have Chris Waddle. Less than 10 minutes to play. Arsenal on the front foot at the moment, but caught offside. Free kick Newcastle.
Should never be offside, Martinelli. He's looking like a race had time in the middle of the park to spray it out to him. He's looking along the lane. He's really wide, and he's still offside. That's poor from the winger. Well, I've got to say, John, Newcastle haven't played Arsenal. You know what they're showing tonight. Nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, missing Jesus certainly. Hamstring problem. So Newcastle take this goal kick downfield. Nick Pope looking at another possible clean sheet. He's barely been troubled. Gordon's been caught offside. In any case, the cross from the right hand side is caught by Raya, and the referee just tells him to play on with it because of the droplets of rain. Just have to clear them to see that we have got 6 minutes plus added time. 6:06 to follow. Book your call now, 08085 909 693. Martinelli on the left-hand side. Martinelli, infield towards Havertz. Martinelli again, right-footed cross towards the back post, headed away for Newcastle by Trippier. Comes out for Arsenal. Tomiyasu now at right-back. Here's Declan Rice. Now that Jorginho has gone off, Declan Rice in a more central position. Now Martinelli receives it. Declan Rice again, back on the ball. Declan Rice going back to the halfway line. Gordon chasing the ball. Arsenal having to go from Gabriel to Saliba. The Newcastle supporters here inside St James's Park trying to do their bit as that rain now seems to have ceased for the time being.
I've got to say, John, Newcastle have parked the bus, haven't they? They think we're winning 1-0 to Arsenal. Come and see what you've got. And let's be honest, Arsenal have offered nothing going forward.
Bayern Munich now winning 3-0 away against Borussia Dortmund, Newcastle's opponent. And it is indeed Harry Kane with another goal as this Arsenal attack comes to nothing. Tomiyasu's ball forward and through for a goal kick. So that's another one for Harry Kane. What is that now? That is 16 goals in 14 appearances. And also Celta Vigo 1, Sevilla 1 in the match involving Arsenal's opponents on Wednesday night. So Newcastle United leading Arsenal by 1-0. Time beginning to run out for Mikel Arteta's side. Newcastle on this run that they've been on, the recent Premier League home matches, 4-0 against Crystal Palace, 2-0 against Burnley, 1-0 against Brentford, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets, although they did lose to Dortmund here in the Champions League, but in the Premier League they've got that very happy clean sheet knack going again, or have they? As the ball's played forward by Zinchenko through the middle, and then Vieira to the left-hand side. Martinelli, Havertz joins in, but Lascelles is able to come across and with his right foot planted out of play for a throw-in down the left.
Newcastle just need to stay compact, John. They don't need to start throwing people forward when they intercept or take the ball off Arsenal. They just need to sit, because Arsenal have run out of ideas. They don't know how to get behind this Newcastle defence.
It's actually a corner, another Arsenal corner. Zinchenko's going to make himself available, but feeling is Newcastle conceded 2 goals from set pieces this time last week, if you were listening, at Molineux. Just wondering whether, he is going to deliver it in. Trossard towards the back post, but no. Lascelles is underneath that to firmly head it away for Newcastle. Back for Arsenal though. Trossard beats Ritchie, gets the ball in. It's not cleared by Newcastle, still in the box. Havertz, little flick by Gabriel. Havertz back to Saka, who's outside the area. Saka square to Vieira. Vieira's ball in to the left-hand side to Martinelli. Martinelli takes it down, back to Trossard. Trossard onto his right foot, shoots, but the penalty area is packed and it was blocked by Livramento. So Arsenal have to start again. 4 minutes to go, plus added time. Arsenal trying to rescue their unbeaten record here. Zinchenko forward towards Martinelli, but Livramento gets his body between Martinelli and the ball, and it rolls over the dead ball line, and it's a goal kick, well defended.
Well, I'm going to say Newcastle have grinded a result. I know it's not finished yet, I don't want to tempt fate, but Newcastle have grinded out a result here. We'll still see, I'm sure they'll talk about the goal for days and days, but they're 1-0 up, and Arsenal, for me, unbeaten this season. They haven't created anything where you actually think, wow.
Arsenal, who've won 19 of their last 22 matches against Newcastle in all competitions, but with a run like that, they've not been all against this Newcastle. That's the point. But even so, Arsenal won here last season, and this very, very tight match has been decided possibly by a rather controversial goal. You will see it. If you haven't seen it already, you'll be able to talk about it on 08085 909 693 with Robbie Savage and Natalie Pike on 606 within probably the next 10 minutes. Book your call now. Here's Bruno Guimaraes who hands off, and in fact it's given as a free kick. Vieira was in there, and the hands came up, and it is a yellow card actually as well for Bruno Guimaraes, and that means he's going to be suspended. So as well as the injuries, Bruno Guimaraes won't be able to play at Bournemouth next Saturday.
To me, I just saw the replay, John, and he just pushes him off. I don't think there's any intent. Look, he pushes his chest. I don't know why he's holding his face. That's where they should use VAR.
Can't use it for yellow cards. Arsenal get the ball moving. Zinchenko receives some information. I think they've changed to 3 at the back. I think he's told Zinchenko to play further forward. Gabriel to Saliba. Back to Gabriel. Just over 90 seconds to play, plus added time. Be quite a bit of that after all of that VAR. Here's Martinelli, gets down. Livramento puts in the challenge. And then Livramento is shoved over by Martinelli and goes spinning off the pitch on this wet surface. Free kick. If he wasn't getting it already, he certainly did after the wheel went down, and it's a free kick to Newcastle.
Frustration, isn't it? Livramento did ever so well, and he started to limp now with his knee. Martinelli just getting frustrated. He's had no joy tonight.
So it's a free kick to Newcastle, who will take as much time as they can here.
Well, you're looking at Martinelli tonight and Saka not been in the game at all. Newcastle never had a problem at all with them.
It's been a strange one, Chris, hasn't it? You know, it's
you expect a lot more.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not been a spectacle by any means.
It's just been two teams going head to head, and as I still say, it's saying Newcastle scored that goal, but what's the goal?
As Havertz plays the ball out of play off Longstaff, throw into Arsenal. Zinchenko, Newcastle crowd thinking still too much distance there, but Havertz just volleys it forward, and that was way beyond anyone in red and white. And Nick Pope is just juggling with the ball at his feet, waiting for Zinchenko waiting for Trossard to come and force him to pick it up, with Trippier there as well, and he has done that now. We've got 20 seconds of the 90 to go. What a good win this will be for Newcastle, no question. And Premier League have told us that if I get a chance, I will tell you this, as it's bounced out of play. Gabriel has kept it in, bounces forward for Havertz, and then Joe Linton plays it infield, but Vieira's got it back for Arsenal. We've got 8 minutes of added time. And now Martinelli down the right. Well, Livramento got the ball, but then got the man as well, and that's a free kick. Free kick to Arsenal. Martinelli's gone down as though he's going to need treatment. Yellow card for Livramento for that, which I guess was because of the manner that he went in for that, with a foot up, even though he got the ball, took down the man. So it's seen as not being in control, and he did catch him. So it is a free kick. It is a yellow card. Right, Premier League have said there were 3 checks. First was for ball out of play, as we know. Second for potential foul, as we know. Third for offside. No conclusive evidence the ball was out of play. Okay? There was deemed not sufficient contact for a foul by Joe Linton on Gabriel, and the lines for offside could not be correctly drawn because too many bodies blocked VAR's. Too many bodies blocked VAR's view.
Well,
that's why we didn't see the lines, because they didn't draw them.
What is the point of having it then? What is the point of having it? That's what it's there for. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I mean, Arsenal, Mikel Arteta's going to be furious about that.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
I have to say, I do my best to defend VAR, but sometimes...
No, I don't.
I know you don't. Free kick then. So it looks as though that's the goal that's deciding this high-stakes Premier League match that we're talking about. Ball played in by Vieira. Newcastle header away. Comes out to Trossard. Trossard twists. But Arsenal lose possession. Trossard dispossessed by the goal scorer, Gordon. Rice comes across. Rice plays it forward. Bounces off Ritchie. That's a throw into Arsenal. Right decision. Newcastle were claiming it.
Foul throw.
In fact, it's a foul throw by Vieira. This is really testing Arsenal's patience, everything that's happened here tonight, off the back of defeat at West Ham on Wednesday.
Well, I've got to give Newcastle credit. It's a scrappy performance. It's not pretty.
But
they've played as a team. They've annoyed them. They've frustrated them.
You win when you don't play well.
Exactly. So, it's not been a game you'd want to record and watch again. It's probably the last game or match of the day tonight, I would probably think. But they'll talk more about the goal, and then they'll show the game, I would think.
And I mean, that's going to be a difficult one for Howard Webb and PGMOL to explain away.
That statement is absolutely a joke.
Joe Linton playing it down the right to Gordon. Rice trying to get back. We're in these 8 minutes of added time. We've had 2.5 of them, and Gordon was offside, so it's a free kick to Arsenal. I must say, sitting here, if Arsenal were to get an equaliser, that would feel a little bit like justice being done because of the way that they conceded the only goal of the match so far. But I'm certainly far from convinced that that's going to happen. Arsenal coming down the right-hand side. So stay tuned with us. We'll hear, hopefully, live from Mikel Arteta during 6:06 on 5 Live. Back it comes to Rice. Rice then back towards the halfway line. Gabriel 30 yards out. Zinchenko to his left. Zinchenko's pass forward is deflected off Longstaff. That'll be another Arsenal corner. And Arsenal have no time to waste now. Trossard across to take this. This is in front of where the Arsenal fans will be watching down. Goodness knows how much it's cost them to get here and get back on a Saturday night, on a day when Fulham fans have protested about the price of tickets to watch Premier League football. You can talk about that on 6:06 as well. I'm sure Fulham fans would be interested in doing that. Trossard takes this in towards the near post, and Tomiyasu trying to get there. Newcastle player behind him. That's deflected wide. Another corner to Arsenal again from the left. Trossard waiting. Saka waits on the edge of the box, just holding his groin. He's limping. I'm not sure he's in the best of health either, Bukayo Saka. Trossard waits to take this latest Arsenal corner, which he does now towards the near post. It's flicked right across the penalty area, but it falls to the feet of Gordon for Newcastle, who's going to be able to run it away. Vieira actually has to backpedal. Gordon then hits a long pass, looking for Willock through the middle, but Trossard coming back was able to volley it with his right instep back towards goalkeeper Raya. Declan Rice now. We've had 4.5 minutes of the 8. Still plenty of time for Arsenal, but not if they play like that. Saka's pass forward easily cleared away. Joe Linton does well. Rice though tackles back, takes it away from the falling Joe Linton, and Arsenal have to start again. Zinchenko once more. Zinchenko, but Arsenal certainly not going gung-ho here, because Newcastle are very quickly back into their places. Zinchenko playing it infield. Saliba out to the right-hand side. And now Saliba's ball in from central after getting it back. Again, it's headed away for Newcastle. Saliba out towards the right-hand side. Vieira is there. Vieira's ball across field towards Zinchenko. We are deep in added time. Arsenal facing their first Premier League defeat of this season. Zinchenko though got it back and pulls it across, but Lascelles was there, didn't put it out of play. Martinelli overhits his pass out towards the far side. That looked as though Trippier was tugging the shirt of Gabriel, and then as Gabriel takes possession, he goes down. That's given as a free kick.
The first one was a foul, pulling the shirt, and then that was definitely a trip. So,
well, he's sort of used his body to knock him over. Trippier, you'd have thought that might have been worth a yellow card in those circumstances, but it's like a short corner now. Arsenal with this set-piece situation that Vieira's waiting to take. This could be the last chance. We're in the 7th minute of added time. 8 have been added on. Vieira waiting to take this. Newcastle trying to cling on to this victory. What an important win it would be for them. Vieira waits, steps up to the ball, but then spots something, just moves it out of the way. Still Vieira waits. Here comes the left-footed delivery from the free kick. Pope comes, gets a punch to it. There's a defender there as well. Arsenal take up possession of the ball. Martinelli back towards Trossard. Trossard gets it back. Left foot shot deflected right across the penalty area, and then bounces behind for another Arsenal corner. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal love a late goal. Remember Trossard scoring in the Community Shield way into added time. So now they need another one to maintain their unbeaten start to this Premier League season. These the final moments of drama of this Premier League match here on 5 Live on Tyneside. Trossard right-footed in. No, he couldn't beat the first defender. It's headed away by Ritchie. The ball bounces out of play. Newcastle want the whistle to go, but we've still got, I make it, 30 seconds of added time to play and more. Arsenal might get one more chance. Zinchenko waiting to take it. Shrill whistles all around St James's Park. The ball in the centre circle with Saliba. He's passed it behind Vieira. Arsenal have got to get it forward here. Vieira to Rice. Rice, no, that's overhit, and the ball's deflected out of play. Joe Linton in with a challenge, and he celebrated that like he did his part in what could be the winning goal.
Yeah, that's it. I can't see. I mean, been a scrappy game, John, on it, let's be honest, but Newcastle got their rewards.
We'll see. Got their rewards.
We'll see what happens.
They deserve to get those rewards.
Yep.
There's the whistle. Newcastle have won it. And Arsenal have been beaten for the first time in the Premier League this season by that controversial goal that went through check after check after check by VAR, and they weren't able to prove whether, with the third check, that it was offside. And Mikel Arteta must be absolutely fuming. Arsenal beaten. Knocked out of the League Cup on Wednesday, beaten for the first time in the Premier League here today on the Saturday. But for Newcastle, on the other side of that coin, what a week for them. Winning at Old Trafford and knocking Manchester United out of the League Cup, and now beating Arsenal here today.
Well, I've got to say, it's been a scrappy game, and Newcastle have grinded out a result. We'll talk about this goal. We'll talk about this goal for weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, certainly. You'll see it on Match of the Day tonight. You'll be able to talk about it on 606 shortly. But Arsenal's players, this has been tough to bear for them.
Arsenal's performance very, very poor. Newcastle, I'm not saying they played well at all. The goal, as you say, John, that's the talking point about the game. The rest of the game, there's not a moment in that game I'll remember apart from that goal. They just cancelled each other out. There was no risk, no entertainment. No, it was two teams who just come head to head. Scrappy game, a lot of falling around, a lot of free kicks. And that goal, as you say, we'll talk about it for weeks and weeks. And that basically sums the game up, that goal.
So there we are. Boos for the officials, who feel that really the game's been spoiled. They feel through officialdom. I think Arsenal have got more of a point about that. It was a really scrappy game filled with fouls. It will not live long in the memory, but it's an important win for Newcastle. They'll go to Germany in really good heart now next week. Listen to us there in Germany with them on Tuesday evening, 5:45 kickoff. They've won 5 out of 6 at home in the Premier League now this season, Newcastle United. And after this, that means Tottenham are the only unbeaten team in the Premier League this season. They play on Monday night against Chelsea. You'll be able to talk about this in a few minutes' time on 606 with Natalie Pike and Robbie Savage. But the final score here on Tyneside: Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 0, and 606 will follow after the 5 Live News with Dan Maudsley.
Listen.